Welcome everybody to the brand new episode of the Dragoncast. My name is Brian Daniels. I'm back with my podcast partner in crime that is not on camera for various reasons today, Victor Salazar. And Victor, my man, we got a couple very special guests with us here today on the Dragoncast. We got Ed Gonzales and Adolfo Dorta here today on the show, and they are representing the Squared Circle Expo. They are showrunners and owners of this convention. Guys, welcome to the show. How y'all doing today?
Good. How's it going?
Going great,
welcome,
man.
welcome.
Ed's letting the background talk for him. He's just
sitting there.
He's gonna say. I
didn't want to interrupt.
Set up to the talking.
Are you sure we're talking about a wrestling convention, not a pop convention? Because you know, man, that looks pretty cool right there.
Quick trivia: how many wrestling pops has Funko released?
I don't know. I don't collect them.
Oh,
what?
Oh, dude.
No.
If you had to guess, just
if you had
I don't know,
guess.
a couple hundred maybe.
I mean, I saw the episode of Pop Drunk you did with Hogan ones. There was at least like 8, right?
Well, yeah, there's probably a couple hundred of them now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I see them.
No, I meant like just 8 Hogan pops.
Oh yeah, no, I have the Hulk Hogan pops. Those don't count.
Okay.
That's cool, dude. That's real cool.
But we're here to talk with you guys about talk with them about the Squared Circle Expo. We're just not gonna waste any time. Let's get right into it. So before we get into that, though, I want to say, you guys, I know I've been talking to Adolfo for quite some time now. Him and I have been talking back and forth a lot. I've known about this expo for quite a while, and Adolfo he's no stranger to conventions, and he's done a convention before, and now he's back in the convention scene. I'm glad you're back in the convention scene. I bet you're glad to be back in the convention scene after all.
Ed's done a couple himself.
Ed has too. Yeah, absolutely.
Ed's done a few.
And tell me, what was it about you guys deciding to do a wrestling convention? How did this whole thing get started?
So before we roll too deep into the weeds with this one, I just want to put out, this is actually the first interview we've done, or we're going to be doing for Squared Circle Expo. So that's kind of fun. This is the first one in Squared Circle Expo history. Also, this is the first time I've ever done an interview with Ed. So we're kind of like a tag team fresh out on the debut match. So we're going to go on the fly. We're going to try not to, we're going to kind of compliment each other. But yeah, did you want me to take this one, Ed, or did you want to roll with it, or how'd you want to do that one?
I'll just give you the short version for me. Me and Adolfo met at another convention, what feels like 100 years ago. And
tell me about it.
I spent almost 20 years in the wrestling business. And I always wanted to do something. I was the kind of guy that enjoyed the drive-through more than the gym. So I was never going to be a big name in pro wrestling. So, but I made a lot of connections in my time, and Adolfo had all this experience with running successful conventions, and he freed up, and I said, hey, let's give this thing a shot. And he was like, I fucking love it. And that's basically it for me.
So I'll give you my take on it. And so I don't quite recall how, Ed, I think, came into the fold at the first ever show from the last one I was involved in. And I think it was because we had Roddy Piper, and he was just kind of, hitting us up about like spreading the word, promoting, passing out flyers and stuff. And it just kind of grew from there. Him and his wife became involved with the show and were pretty much mainstays for us. But we had tossed this idea over the years to like a ring show. And, the last convention, it was more horror centric, but it kind of delved into pop culture a little bit. We always had wrestling guests as well. Just because horror and wrestling kind of seemed to go, like peanut butter and jelly. The wrestling guests always did well. They were great to work with. The majority of them were like the least pain in the ass guests that we had on our roster at any given show. And so Ed always kind of pushed this idea of like doing a ring show, but every time we kind of visited the idea, it seemed like it would be going a little too far into another genre, and it didn't really feel appropriate for what we were doing at the time. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had always just kind of talked like if we ever did if he had kind of told me, I remember once, if you ever did a wrestling version of what you're doing in the horror scene, that would be awesome. Mm-hmm. And there's other wrestling conventions that go on, and they're all great, but just, for those of you that are familiar with the work we've done in the past, you know what I'm talking about. It's a different atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of always had in the back of my head, like, yeah, if I ever wasn't doing the other thing, I'd love to do something with Ed. And I'm really stoked to be working with him. And, when the opportunity presented itself to do Circle Expo, I jumped on it because Ed's a carny through and through. And a lot of, and I mean that in the best way, like I'm PT Barnum as fuck. I love that. I much respect to just the whole art of promoting a gimmick and getting it over. And I knew that if I got the opportunity to work with Ed, it would be like two minds that kind of think the same and are on the same page,
right,
collaborating into something pretty awesome. So when that opportunity presented itself, I jumped on it. We weren't intending, my wife and I, when we bowed out of the other show in 2018, we weren't really intending on getting back in so soon, but a couple of opportunities presented themselves. A couple of people kept asking, hey, what's next? Yeah. And so, the idea that I had kind of sat on the back burner for a couple of years came to the forefront, and it was like, all right, let's rock and roll with it.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to leave that other show and just kind of like, because I know you had done that other show for a long time, and was that hard for you, Adolfo, to leave that other show and just kind of like not kind of take a step away from that scene, from that, not essentially the horror scene, but the convention scene as a whole? Was that like hard for you to take away? Because I know you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird because it was like one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but also one that I felt made the most sense. It's without getting too long-winded with the answer, something like that is what I've dreamt about, doing something like that, creating something that other people can appreciate for my whole life.
Yeah.
I finally achieved it. You're finally there, and you're doing it with a lot of people that, you have relationships with, and it's awesome. And it felt good for a really long time, but kind of towards the end, things started going in a direction where I didn't, I wasn't feeling it anymore. It wasn't what at least I had set out, in my mind to do. And there's obviously other people involved. That wasn't just my gig only.
Yeah.
But as far as what I wanted out of it and what I found fulfilling, it wasn't happening anymore. And I had gotten involved with animal welfare, which is what I do now as a day job. I'm a volunteer and development coordinator for my local county humane society. I do a lot of their marketing. I do a lot of their events and their fundraising.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love it. Awesome. And it kind of, when I started, when the love and the passion for the last show started running out on me, I'd always kind of made a promise to myself where I was like, if it's not being fun, if your heart stops not being in it, if it's ever not what you had set out to have it be, then like that's it. That's when you punch out. You're not gonna ever do it for just for a check or. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of, between me getting into the animal welfare thing and then that kind of just running its course, as hard of a decision as it was to make, with everything the way it aligned, it seemed to make a lot of sense. So, my wife and I we welcomed the break. And why we haven't really been too vocal about Circle Expo and our involvement was just, it's been kind of nice to be laying low for 2 years and working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? Speaking of love and passion.
What's that?
Speaking of love and passion, guys, where did the love and passion for wrestling come from? Ed, Adolfo, like, how did that fuel the fire? Like, where did that come from?
For me, I'd always been a wrestling fan, and like 2000, 2001, I started training in wrestling with Les Thatcher and Shark Boy and Cody Hawk of the old HWA days.
Nice.
And
nice.
I was in the ring for years. I'd always had a passion for pro wrestling, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm too old and beat up now. Let's see how else we can make money in pro wrestling.
Look at the side avenue, huh? Nice.
Yeah, man.
That's cool though. To be in the ring though, that's a lot of people's dreams just to even step into the ring. So to be able to do it for a couple of years, man, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've been between the ropes with some pretty notable names too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a whole other lifetime ago.
Who was one of those people that you really enjoyed being in the ring with most, Ed?
Oh my God.
Those one or two people that were just like were memories you won't forget about being in the ring with.
You know, wrestling guys like Jimmy Snuka and Coco Beware, and getting my head shaved by Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and
that's awesome.
You know, all that kind of stuff. Those are memories I'll never lose.
Man, that's amazing.
Coco Beware. I haven't heard that name in ages.
I know, right?
Man. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Awesome, though.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
Come out with that bird. That's cool.
I'm like you, Ed. I've always been a wrestling fan, but I've just never I've never been in shape. I have a shape, but not the shape for wrestling. Get me?
I'm in that same one now, brother.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
But I've had friends who've done wrestling. I've got to go to their matches and things like that. Like Ruby Riott from Riot Squad. I know her very well. You know, when she was up in Lafayette wrestling and things like that, I used to live up in West Lafayette, so I used to see her wrestle before she went to NXT and did it.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of shows with her.
So I'm no stranger to the pro wrestling scene. I'm actually really good friends with a guy named Kenny Bolin, who Kenny Bolin. He was John Cena's manager in OVW. He also did he managed Brock Lesnar,
the Star Maker.
Yeah, man. He literally lives like 10 minutes from my house. I've gone to his house. I do dinner with him all the time. But yeah, I mean, I've always loved pro wrestling, and the thing about it is the pro wrestling community. It's like Adolfo said. You know, the horror community and the pro wrestling community, they're kind of one and the same in a little bit, because there's that passion there for something, whether it's a horror, horror in general, and people think horror is just movies. That's not true. I mean, you got TV, film, podcast, things like that. And for me, when I would go to horror conventions, that's where I mostly got my wrestling fix, was meeting wrestlers at horror conventions. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's great to see you guys are doing just a strictly wrestling con. Now I'm curious, what made you guys decide to choose Indianapolis of all the places y'all could have went to? You went to Indianapolis. So I'm curious what made you guys decide to go to my hometown, Indianapolis. What's up with that?
I mean, I don't know about Adolfo, but for me, Indianapolis is kind of like the center of the world, right? So like you and I, we're in Kentucky. Adolfo's out there in Wisconsin. There's so many people in Chicago, Detroit, you know, all these places that are completely drivable to get to Indianapolis. So like I said, it's like the center of the world.
It's a crossroads of America, brother. Yeah.
That for me, that's what made it.
Just to tag on that too. I mean, when I mentioned earlier that we got a couple of offers that we couldn't refuse come on the table, which made this happen a lot sooner than originally intended. One of those offers came from the Wyndham in Indianapolis, who we had kept tabs with ever since the last show. Yeah. And when I was actually leaving the hotel Monday morning, the last show that, in 2018, one of their managers came up to me and said, hey, if you ever do anything else in the future, or, not quite in those words, because nobody really knew, I hadn't even really decided at the point that it was going to be the last ride.
Sure.
But it was basically like, hey, keep in touch. Let us know. We'd like to work with you again. And the other show, it was planning on moving on from the Wyndham. The Wyndham had always, been pretty good by us. There was a few hiccups here and there, but overall, they really wanted our business, and they had actually reached out and, to ask if we were in the game, if we had been, we were doing anything, if there was anything that they could be a part of. And it was like, well, actually, we've been tossing around this idea for this wrestling convention. What do you think? And So they offered, were the first venue to really pitch a good deal to us. They aggressively wanted us to bring the show to the Wyndham Indianapolis West. So it was kind of like, well, we know the spot. They really want to have us. Indianapolis it is.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, the Wyndham West it's kind of weird because when I started going to conventions many years ago, I myself am from Indianapolis, and the first convention I ever went to was Gen Con, the very first one in Indy, and yeah, it was kind of weird going to a convention at a hotel. I didn't think that was a thing, but it is, and I liked it. That's a good venue. That's a really good venue. They do a lot of they do like Starbase Indy there. They do a lot of local cons there, and so yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to doing it there. And it's just easy because people can stay there and they can go to a show, and it's like literally right in their own hotel. It's just
the horror scene.
It's super convenient, yeah.
Yeah, the horror scene exists almost. I mean, over the last couple of years, a couple of bigger shows have kind of migrated over to convention centers as it's gotten more popular.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Horror scene has pretty much exclusively lived in hotels for like 20, 25 years. And so for a lot of, I mean, for me, and I mean, I've gone to comic conventions, I've gone to sci-fi conventions, so I know what both look like. For me, it's kind of, I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I like that convenience of the hotel. You're there, you got your stuff up in your room. If you want to take a little break, you roll up there and that's it.
Yeah.
I actually, on a different note, I went to a music festival a few years ago that was held at the Hard Rock in Las Vegas, and I felt the same thing. It was awesome not to be sitting outside in the sun all day in a field, having to kind of just like, once you're there, you're committed. You leave, that's it, you're gone.
Yeah.
But having a hotel room there as well, if you want to go shower off, if you want to go up for a little snack, take a nap, all that kind of stuff that, especially, a guy my age, when you hit 40, you need that little nap during the day to through. So
to keep going, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think I could ever go back to like doing a convention center convention after you've tasted that hotel life,
Yeah, I get that. I get that, and you're absolutely right because horror. I had never been to a horror con until I think it was like 2017, 2018, and yeah, I like the vibe at hotel cons because when it's more of a tight knit, I feel, than it is at a con or a convention center because convention centers are big, spread out, everybody's spread out, whereas at a hotel you got that small lobby area, and then you got the little rooms and things like that. It feels more tight knit as opposed to a giant convention center. And don't get me wrong, I don't think convention center cons are bad. They're there for a reason, for usually more bigger cons. But I do like that. So I'm looking at your list of who you guys got coming to this thing, man. I'm impressed by the people you guys, like Darby Allin's coming out. You guys got Dustin Rhodes. He's great. I've met him a couple times. You guys have Charles Wright, Papa Shango, and Godfather. That's so cool. You guys got some really impressive list of people coming out here. Tell me what that's like to get some of these wrestlers to come out, especially like Darby Allin and things like that, while they're still touring, or they're not touring, they're pandemic. They're while they're doing shows and things like that. And who were some of the first people you guys reached out to come out and do this show?
Honestly, for me anyway, we were just talking, and I said, no, I know this guy, I know that guy, I know this guy, I know that guy. We'll get him in. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how we started, right? Just, hey, who's Ed know that we could get on the show to bring him in? Yeah. And then this super awesome guy at Prestige Talent Management, who represents a lot of AEW guys. Mm-hmm. We had crossed paths at other conventions, mm-hmm. and he said, hey man, I've got this guy and I've got that guy. You want me to bring them? I said, absolutely. So, I said, are they available and all that good stuff? They said they're available. They want to come. And Scott over there at Prestige Talent, he's been a real help. But yeah, getting these guys that are on TV right now is a huge coup, in my opinion, on most conventions. Yeah. You don't really see guys that are current television guys. So the fact that we've got guys
right.
like Dustin and Darby and Sammy, and Vicky and just all those people, Tay, Conti, all those people that are on TV are going to be in the Wyndham. So, I think that's a huge thing.
And the cool thing too,
that's amazing.
Yeah, the thing that kind of happens, in the life of any convention, not just the convention as a whole, but the event itself, is once you start getting a couple of people in, once Darby and Sammy are in the mix, then you get a call from somebody else saying, hey, how can I get in the mix too? And then another manager will come in and say, hey, what about this person? And so once that buzz starts growing, the hardest thing is getting off the ground. The hardest thing is getting those first few to commit. And then once that word starts going around about the show, and I don't know if Ed can kind of attest to this. I know he's been handling most of the booking, but I mean, I'm sure your phone's blown up. When we put out that first flyer, I remember in 2019 or 2020 rather, it just, I know your phone was blowing up for days straight. Just, how can I get involved with this? It looks great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pro wrestling's kind of a weird industry where, me personally, I really haven't stepped foot in a wrestling ring in probably 2 to 3 years now. And wrestling's weird where in the fact that, these guys who are your best friends that you see every weekend or, in some cases every day, traveling or going to these shows, once one of you leaves the wrestling business, as in like taking bookings and being on shows, you don't really talk to these guys a whole lot anymore. And it's nothing malicious. It's just that, hey man, I'd love to hang out with you, but I've got a show on Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so life gets busy.
Nature of the beast. Yeah.
But I actually got phone calls from guys I hadn't talked to in years. And it wasn't one of those, hey, I heard you're doing a thing, let me get on. It was, hey, brother, I'm so glad to finally talk to you again. So I got to rekindle with a lot of guys too, guys and girls that I hadn't seen just because I left the business and I decided laying on the couch was my new, I'm the guy on the couch now, you know what I mean? But yeah, phone blowing up, but at least it rekindled a lot of old friendships. So
yeah.
That's cool, because I wanted to ask you guys about the community. We're very big on the communities, especially convention communities, and we have the gaming, the tech, and the wrestling, the horror. So it's cool to hear how the community on the wrestling side works. How there's could be a little bit of a division, but when you guys get to rekindle, then that's a whole new story now.
So it's almost like really you never skipped a beat.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to know, because I've heard a lot of that. Where once you step out of the ring, it's kind of like, oh, you're done. You're kind of, you're not really hanging out anymore, and that's that. So it's really cool to hear that you're able to get phone calls and just reconnect and rekindle, and like it never even stepped away, man. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like how this convention is very twofold for both you and Adolfo here, because Adolfo's getting back into the convention community in general, and you're getting back into the wrestling. This is a great opportunity for the both of you to step into worlds that you hadn't really been a part of for a while. So it's really a great opportunity for the both of you to do that, and not only that, but give back to those communities that you've been a part of.
Sure.
Again, to get back to doing that again. Now, as much as I hate to have to talk about this, it's just the way things are. We have this thing called a pandemic. You might have heard of it.
It's obligatory now. It's obligatory.
So I'm very curious, because we have not yet had a convention runner on our show. We had one last year, and a good friend of mine named Carl, he does PopCon in Indy. And I'm curious. So what can we expect from Squared Circle Expo as far as we're less than a month away, and whereas a lot of these other conventions are maybe July, August, September, and out, and onward. What steps are you guys taking to work with like the Indiana Department of Health, things like that, to ensure, safety of people and things of that nature for COVID? What's going on with that? What have you guys had to do that you haven't had that you had to do differently? Because I know, Adolfo, you've done conventions, and this is a whole different realm we're in right now with a pandemic.
Yeah, it's a different ball game now.
So what's the differences now? What are you guys going to do with that?
It's a conversation we have almost daily because, it's something that, I mean, if you've been following it, I don't know how closely you guys follow it. I've been following this daily, like multiple times daily. Not just for myself, but just, for what it means to, again, in my day job, a lot of my stuff relies on community outreach. So there's no community to outreach to. I've had to get creative in that regard. And, my shelter has been doing a lot of things remotely, a lot of things, through Zoom, through video, all that. So it's affected the way I've done my general life, much like I'm sure it has everyone else. We're kind of treating it like whatever, and we've got a meeting next week with everybody in the show, and we're going to kind of like nail down the COVID protocols, but it's going to be basically where we're at next week is kind of going to be how we're running for the show. That's going to entail whatever precautions the Department of Health in Marion County is advising. That's what we're rolling with. Right. A couple of things that we have already that are going to be pretty much a given. All staff, all volunteers are going to be wearing a mask regardless of where we end up 4 weeks from now.
Okay.
For that, I say it that way because, tracking the numbers, by the end of April, it's estimated that 60% of the people in this country are going to have at least one shot. And if you look at other countries that have kind of been going the same way that we have, Israel being the most, the best example of that. Once they hit that 50% vaccinated with at least one shot, cases start to fall off a cliff. Deaths have already been falling off a cliff, thankfully, for, since about January, February. So what I think is going to happen by the time we get to the show a month from now, while it doesn't seem like all that far away, I think we're going to be in a place where Marion County might think that it's okay to be doing no masks. I think cases are going to drop precipitously, and I think we're going to be in a really good spot. That being said, I know not everybody's going to be comfortable with that. I've been fully vaccinated, and I still wear my mask everywhere I go. Yep. And so as a show of support for, the people that either maybe haven't been fully vaccinated or, feel like they want that extra, show of safety, all of our staff, all of our volunteers are going to be completely masked, regardless of where we are as far as vaccines. Tables at the show are going to be a little bit more separated than normal. Generally, what we used to do with the last show, we used to have about 4 feet of space in between every vendor or celebrity table. We're going to up that to 6 feet.
Okay.
Just kind of based on what the CDC and health department recommendations are. For the show on Saturday night, we've actually cut the capacity in half. So before it was going to be, the ring show was a perk of VIP and weekend pass holders, and then everybody else could go ahead and buy their ring show tickets if you were just coming in for a day. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances, that will no longer be the case. We did leave our VIP and weekend pass holders out in a lurch, so they got priority as far as the ring show. It was promised to them, so we left that perk in place. And crunching the numbers, we were able to do so without compromising the half capacity thing. If Indianapolis decides that 4 weeks from now they're at a spot where they could go to 75% capacity, maybe we'll make that call the weekend of to sell tickets on a walk-up basis at the door. But right now we're planning to keep the precautions for where we are now. Since we don't know where we'll be a month from now, we're planning as if the way things are at this very moment is where they're going to be 4 weeks from now.
Sure.
Finally, with our photo ops, we're going to be trying something pretty new. And that's we're going to be doing photo ops maskless. However, we're going to have a big plexiglass wall between the celebrity and the patron. And it seems a little awkward at first. We were a little bit nervous to pitch the idea because it kind of comes off a little bit like a prison visitation. But everybody was very receptive to it. Everybody was thankful that we were being straightforward and honest with it. I guess that hasn't been the case with all conventions. I guess some have been a little bit either loosey-goosey with the rules or a little bit ambiguous, but we kind of laid it out very clearly. We're going to have one person at a time in the photo op room. All the participants, as far as staff goes, our photographer, our person checking the photo on the computer, any volunteers, they're all going to be masked. The only people that are going to be not masked is the celebrity talent taking the photo op and the patron when they come into the room. They're going to be on the other side of the plexiglass, and that way they can both be unmasked. You have the plexiglass divider preventing any sort of spray or contamination or breath or all of that stuff. And after the photo is taken, our photographer is going to go ahead and by hand personally Photoshop every single one and color correct to make it so that wall wasn't even there to begin with.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
You won't be able to tell that it was kind of a weird year for photo ops. It'll look super natural. And maybe when you look at that photo up on your wall a couple of years from now, you'll forget there was ever a pandemic.
Yeah.
Those are a few of the things that we're doing. I mean, a lot of the other ones, such as touchless will call and having sanitation stations in every single room and every hallway. Those are all things that I think are common sense by now.
Yeah.
Every business out there either has them, or if they don't, they should.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those are kind of what we got in the works. I mean, I'm particularly proud of the photo op thing because, one of the things you want to do when having a convention is you want to be safe. You don't want to take any chances with people's health, but you also want to make it as natural and normal as you possibly can. And I think that taking photo ops with the masks on, if we weren't able to do the plexiglass, I think we were going to consider not doing photo ops, because if you're with masks on, aside from the celebrity talent being a lot bigger than you are, you probably can't tell who that is. And it doesn't feel like fans would be getting their money's worth with that.
Oh yeah.
I think we struck that compromise. The trade-off is you won't be able to get an instant print because the photographer has to go back and individually touch up each one and make it look as natural as possible. Mm-hmm. But fans have seemed pretty happy with that decision. They appreciate that we've been very forward and very transparent with our protocols. They seem to appreciate that we're at least trying to have as normal of a show as possible while not compromising on safety.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything else is just keeping your eyes and ears to what the medical professionals say and adjusting accordingly. It's definitely not been easy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I believe that because, we had a guy named Tom Krum on the show a few months back, and he, he's a convention reviewer, and he's actually been brave enough to go down to Florida and do these reviews. So I was like, more power to you, man. I don't think I could do that, but and as someone like myself who reviews conventions, it sucks, but that's going to have to be a thing that I got to look at, when I go to these cons, is how are they doing these protocols? And I know a lot. Look, let's make it very clear. None of us like wearing these masks, man. I don't like wearing these damn masks. I don't like having them on my face. I like seeing people's faces. Like I like seeing you guys' faces. Although I can't see Victor's face right now, but it's all good. But I mean, at the end of the day,
a digital mask.
It's that expression, and is it gonna suck going to a con and not seeing those expressions on other people, other attendees? Yeah, but at the end of the day, we know this is not this is only temporary. This is not the way life is going to be forever, right? So, so I do appreciate you guys, having common sense, which is not really common a lot these days, but I appreciate that you guys are, trying to do something and give people something. Because, man, after this past year of I'm a huge extrovert and I hate being in my house all the time. And, going from, I think I only went to one con, and it was March of last year, right before the lockdown happened and everything.
Yeah, right.
I've been dying to get out of here and go to a con and be around other people in a community that I love, such as the wrestling community or even like the gaming community, etc. So I'm glad.
One thing too that I kind of want to add, and it's nothing that we're doing, but
Sure.
I think that, and I don't mean this as a political statement. I don't mean this as a social argument or anything.
Sure.
One thing that I can definitely be thankful about is that this vaccine rollout has gone tremendously. It's something that I was definitely sweating because we were very much prepared for a reality where this show would not be able to happen if the vaccine rollout was not quick enough. And Indiana's done a really good job. I hate to say this, but it kind of surprises me that Indiana's done a much better job than some of the other Midwestern states like Illinois.
You're not wrong. I feel the same way.
I know. You're not expecting Indiana to be leading, the charge in that regard. But Indiana's done a great job in their vaccine rollout. They've had very sensible metrics for when certain, individuals can get theirs. And I think you guys have been open to everybody for at least like 3 weeks now, right?
Yeah, we started up on the 31st of March was when they just opened the floodgates to everybody 16 and up. And I actually get my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine here on the 22nd. So in a few days, I'll be fully vaccinated before I come to the expo. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Not to get political. We've been political on this show. That wouldn't be anything different from what we've done before. But you're right. It's been weird. Indiana, when I watched the heat map of like all of the states that were like, increasing in cases, and I saw Indiana was steady, I was like, no way. There's no way. Indiana, how are we not in the red again? Because we were in the red before. And I was like,
Wisconsin's kind of in that same boat. Wisconsin. Wisconsin, as far as like, people's, gosh, I don't know what the word is, but, they've really done a great job too. And I just got my second one a couple days ago. They've been giving them pretty much to anybody for about like 3-4 weeks now. And so I'm very, and again, not to turn this about that, but I'm very pro-vaccine. I'm very pro-mask, but I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I'm also very pro-responsibility. And I, just speaking for, Wisconsin, the vaccine's been available to everybody for a month. So, at some point, we have to kind of say, the people that are refusing this, that's your choice. That's your personal choice. I don't believe anybody should be forced to be vaccinated. I don't believe we should be going around sticking needles in people's arms that don't want them.
No.
We can make our own decisions. But at some point, when this vaccine's been available for a little while, you have to then say, well, we've given everybody enough time to be vaccinated. Those of us that vaccinated, we're doing this not only for our own safety, but I think at least I am, I want this to be done.
Oh man.
I want my community to be safe. I want to not have to wear that damn mask anymore. It really makes my beard look like shit. I don't want to wear that mask, man. I want to go back to concerts. I want to go back to cons.
Oh my God. Yeah.
A restaurant and it not being awkward. So, I think, and I'm not saying this as an out for us at all, but in Indianapolis, by the time we get to our show, it would have been almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months since everybody.
That people have had this opportunity to get vaccinated. We're still going to be very precautious, but at some point, if you feel it's important, you gotta take that shot because, I was very much on board with the world stopping the way it did. I know that was not popular for a lot of people. I felt it was necessary, but now that we have the solution, the world can't be still for much longer. I think.
No doubt. I agree. I completely agree with your sentiment on all that. And the thing about it is, man, I was telling Victor before y'all came in here today to do the show. The reason why I got the vaccine. We're not gonna make this the vaccine episode. we'll be done with this in a second. But I got it because ever since I was a kid and when I got sick like way worse. I had chickenpox twice. I get the flu
That's crazy.
Right? I know, right? A lot of people can't
that's
believe
crazy
that. I get the flu like 5 times worse. So I'm thinking, man, if I got COVID, what the hell is it going to do to me? Like, mutate me and grow me a third leg or some crazy shit? Like, I don't want to get that, right? So, and if I'm going to get it, I don't want the worst of it. That's the whole point of this thing. So, so I decided, you know what? Look, I'm going to get it. I got to get it. I got to do my part too. I kind of feel like you, Adolfo, in the sense it's a sense of responsibility, and I want this damn thing to be done. I'm curious to know, how soon do you guys think we'll be able to go back to conventions again with lots of people and no mask? What do you think on that? How do you guys feel about that? What do you think we'll be able to do that by the end of the
future's
year?
gonna look like, right?
Maybe next year. Like, I know it's hard to forecast that because you guys are trying to forecast for your own con, but what if you had to venture a guess, when would you think we'd be able to go back to like the floodgates?
Like totally normal?
Yeah, man.
Honestly, I think like July, June, end of June.
So, for real?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why cons that are like, wrestling cons, horror cons, they're not big congregations of people the way that like San Diego is.
Right.
Gen Con. Like, I understand why someone like a show like Gen Con or Dragon Con would think, you know what, maybe 80,000 people in one spot, not a good idea. But again, I think that if the vaccine's been available, worst case scenario, April 16th, if the vaccine's been available everywhere since April 16th, at some point you got to say, well, everybody's had the chance to get it.
Yeah.
Whoever hasn't gotten it is probably not going to. How long do we really want to have everything on hold?
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, you can't force people that don't want to do it. It's their right to decide what goes into their body.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can't keep the world on pause indefinitely, and I don't know. I know that, there's a lot of music festivals happening, in the fall, and I'm assuming that those wouldn't, invest a lot of time and resources into doing what they do if they didn't feel like it was going to be possible. So
yeah, I would hope not.
End of June, early July, you could probably go back to normal. But then again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm just
sure.
I'll stab at it.
You're not?
I'm not.
You're not a scientist? What the hell, man?
What do you think, Ed? How soon before we get back to normal?
How soon you want to
Look. He's
wrestled in Lima, Ohio, so he's not even worried about COVID.
No,
I'm like, I used to be an extrovert. I was the most extroverted guy on planet Earth, right? I was the dude that would leave my house on a Monday and not get home until Monday, right?
Oh, okay.
Now I'm married. I got a house. Me laying on my couch for 2 months when we were shut down, that didn't hurt my feelings at all. Stay away from people, no problem.
And that's how he became the CEO of Funko.
Funko King,
Funko
yeah, dude. Real quick, Ed, because that's a really cool backdrop you got right there, man. Any notable Funko pops you want to just share real quick, or you're really proud of having?
Which one's your favorite one that you got in your collection, dude?
Oh, dude.
Like, what's the one that like will always just? Oh, here we go.
I know we can be here all day, man. So just
pick one or two. Day. It's
gotta be the cereal monsters. Your Count Chocula.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's real cool.
Dig it. That's what's
most valuable pop in your collection.
Ooh, good question.
Probably the San Diego Comic-Con Skeletor from like 2012.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome. That's real cool.
That runs what, a good $55?
Yeah, like $55. Yep.
Do you have that sitting on your wall there? Do you have that locked up somewhere, Ed?
No, it's on another wall. This is just one of many.
Yeah, that's like
man.
he's got like 5 walls in his house, probably 6 walls in there. It's got like pops covered all around the block. So the show is going to be the 14th and the 15th. That's great because that's my birthday weekend, so I'm excited for that as well to hang out with you guys then. Tell us more about this. You have a wrestling show going on during your wrestling expo, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's
like
get
you
into
said,
this.
May
What's on the
14th and
card,
15th.
man? Tell us about it.
Yeah, and May 14th and 15th, Indianapolis West, Indianapolis, Indiana. We're going to do Friday and Saturday nights. Saturday night, after all the autographs are signed, after all the photos are taken, after maybe all the beers are drank, we're gonna have a 6 to 8 match wrestling card. I got in the wrestling business very old school. So unlike a lot of these new young kids, I believe in sticking to your times. So
we're going 7:05 Eastern time on the
so hopefully here soon. We've got a lot of names that everybody's familiar with. Some names people aren't familiar with, but I think they need to be familiar with. Stepping in the ring, battling it out. And we might even, just for funsies, we might even crown the first ever Squared Circle Expo.
Look at that. That's awesome.
Okay, that's what I'm talking
That's
about.
cool.
That's
awesome right there.
That is amazing. Yeah, man. So you're doing a card on Friday and Saturday night, right?
No, just Saturday night.
Just Saturday night, right?
Just Saturday. We're saving Friday night for a different set of shenanigans. So Friday night's gonna be, maybe we might sing a little karaoke.
Hey,
maybe we might we got all kinds of stuff we're thinking about. So and we'll get those schedules out very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were actually talking about it this morning before coming on. We were Ed's been up since 7. I've been up since 6:30 my time. Kind of just banging out the last of the confirming more of the match, the card that we're gonna hopefully start announcing next week. We're also going over some of the Q&A panels that we're gonna have. Looking to have kind of a full 2 days worth of Q&A panels. Personally, for me, I love that kind of stuff. I
do too.
Go to a convention and just have it.
Yeah, those are amazing.
Forking over 20s for autographs. That gets, you could do that for about an hour or two, but then what else is there to do? And I've always been a big believer in that you got to give people more than just the ability to spend money when you go to one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have Q&As, a good 8 to 10 at least. We're going to have some pretty fun after hours activities as Ed kind of hinted at. And then another special event or two, which we'll hopefully announce next week. I've been actually, we've been working. We've been pretty much every day. And I know we're getting kind of down to the home stretch, but we're looking forward to in the next week or two, just dropping all of these things. And we get asked quite a bit. So, aside from celebrities, aside from autographs, like what else is there going to be? Well, we're going to show you guys pretty soon. So by the time this airs, I think a lot of people are going to start seeing those, and I'm excited. It's got to be more than, I call them donut shop shows. When you go in, you make your selection, you hand over your money, and they give you something in return. Like I know some people like that. I know that's very popular. I need a little more. I like that. This is going to be more of a community thing. It's going to be a social thing. It's going to be, kind of like, and I don't know how old you guys are, but, back in the day when I was young, going to conventions in like the lobby of a Hojo, they used to be really small. It used to be a handful of vendors selling comic books. And it was a place like before the internet, before YouTube, before all of that. That's how you got your news on stuff. Just a bunch of comic dealers getting together, a bunch of nerds getting together and talking to each other about, the latest arc of Spider-Man, or, what you heard, that, Nintendo is going to release a new console next year, or all of these like things out of the rumor mill before there was, Reddit and Facebook spoiling it for you well in advance. So with the last show, we that was kind of a thing that we tried to push. With this one, I think it's going to be the same. We want the event, the expo, to be a reason why people are getting together and celebrating wrestling, not getting together to buy autographs, getting together to celebrate wrestling, have those discussions, talk about the future, talk about the past, and make it more than just spending money, you know?
Yeah, and you bring up a good point when you say that, because for me, as someone, because when I go to review these cons, I don't just go as if it's my job to do that. I go as an attendee, obviously, because I'm there to I still want to have a good time, right? I see too many people do what I do, and they're so like, they're those movie critics who like they go in this
All
has to be
stone
serious
face,
business.
yeah.
Like I'm just here to review this movie. I don't really care if it's fun or not. I'm just gonna tell you my opinion. No, screw that. I'm here to have fun. Like I want to have fun, but also let people know what they, how my experience was, because I'm sure this is not the first, nor the last Squared Circle Expo you guys are gonna be doing. And the thing is that you bring up a good point. For me, I don't just go for the celebrities. I never have gone just for the celebrities. Maybe for me, I'm a little bit spoiled in the sense that almost every time I go, I have press credentials. I get to hang out and interact with these people. So it's a little different for me. But at the end of the day, even before I did this as a career, I still didn't care all that much about the celebrities. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to go and meet Darby Allin, see Booker T again. I've always wanted to meet Vicky Guerrero. Especially with Eddie and what happened with that many years ago. But it's also about what else can you give? What else are you going to do for me? I am there to not just shake the hand of a celebrity, get a photo, and then that's it. Like you said, I want the whole package, right? I want to feel fulfilled and not just go and get a picture and be out the door. And not only that, but I don't want to just go buy merch. I want there to be friggin' activities, man. I'm there for, I'm glad you guys, it just makes sense. It makes sense to have a wrestling show at a freaking wrestling expo. I mean, why the hell that would,
right?
And I would almost kind of be like, why the hell is there no wrestling show here, right? So I mean, to have those main attractions, if you will, that's kind of what I like to call them. What's the other main attraction here besides the celebrities or the guests or what have you? That's important to me, and I know that's important to a lot of people as well. And I will say that in my experience, there's been conventions that did that at first when they were starting out, and then as they've gone on, they've declined because they're all about trying to make money, and they're trying to get big celebrities to bring them money, and then that's it. Like they did away with the main attractions, right? So for me, yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what you guys have in store for everybody next month. And I gotta know, like, you got a very impressive guest list here. I said at the beginning of the show. Who are some of these people that you got coming here? Are you guys really excited about headlining your first Squared Circle Expo?
I mean, for me, just right off the rip, I mean, brand new WWE Hall of Famer Kane going to be there. You know what I mean? The big red machine. That one right there is I've personally never met him. I am ready to meet him. I think it's going to be a great time. But how often are you going to see Kane? You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Kane too. I mean, I came up with wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s, and then my parents started kind of taking me to wrestling shows during the Attitude Era. Although that didn't last too long, because if you remember the Attitude Era, it wasn't the most kid-friendly time for
yeah.
Stone Cold slapping some beers and whatnot, right?
I actually remember going to a show, and The Rock and Stone Cold were kind of like the headliners on the card, and we would go see it in the arena that the Florida Panthers still I don't know if they still play in, but at the time that's where they were playing, and it ended with Stone Cold like downing like at least a whole 12-pack, just like the keys from post to post. And my mom was just so pissed about that. She was like, we're not coming to this again. But no, Kane obviously was a big part of that era.
Yeah.
Sort of arcs with Taker as well, and Mankind. I mean, all super, super great. But recently I've actually I stopped watching wrestling for a little while, and like some people kind of got back into it with W. At first out of curiosity, and then there's aspects of it that grab you. So I'm pretty stoked about a lot of the AEW guys, Darby and Sammy, You know, Ty Conti has been just absolutely blowing up their women's division.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
I dig that there's a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. You know, Jake the Snake's another one. My wife's actually very excited to meet Jake the Snake, because that was her wrestler, which was growing up. Her and Jake and Hogan, and so yeah, there's a little bit of something for everybody. There's a little bit of something for every demographic, and I think we've done a pretty damn good job at curating the roster from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have done an excellent job. You said, like you said, bringing the old in with the new, and yeah, I feel that same way. You know, I grew up watching the Attitude Era, and I had to sneak and watch Raw late at night because, you know, USA,
Right? Yeah.
and on USA Network, and then you know, my mom wasn't too big of a fan of the same reason, for the same reasons, you know, and then unfortunately, the quality of the product that WWE was providing has been providing as of late has not been so great, but then there was AEW, and you know, I'm a big Cody. I've always been a big Cody Rhodes fan in the Rhodes family in general, all the way from Dustin, you know, Dustin Rhodes, and then their father, of course, and seeing them do what they've done with that brand has just been crazy, especially having Chris Jericho come on the Broken Skull sessions recently. That was really crazy to see them have an AEW, one of AEW's top guys, being on a WWE network type thing. That's super weird to me. I gotta ask you guys something. You know, growing up and watching wrestling, who were some of those people that you were like, you looked up to, that inspired you, or maybe even just you always had to tune in for? Who were some of you guys' favorite wrestlers growing up as a kid?
I was a Hulkamaniac. Still am a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah.
Nice.
I grew up in the 80s, and so it was a lot of Hulk Hogan. But I got a lot of family in the South, right? So like the South, not like I live in Kentucky. I'm in the South. I'm talking like the South.
The deep South. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Right. So my family actually turned me on to the NWA at the time, WCW as well, because all I knew was Hulk Hogan. That's all I knew growing up. And then Ric Flair, just woo, like, you know, they in my opinion, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, they're the two greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Period. Exclamation point. No debate. So, right there.
You know, I wasn't super into Ric Flair until we worked with him with the show. Not like, I appreciated what he did, but he was, man, he was like that guy. You either loved him or you loved to hate him. And then when we had him, he was just such a nice, generous guy. I think he won me over more so afterwards than when he was in the ring. When he was in the ring, I always liked rooting against him. I couldn't stand him. He was just too cocky for my taste. I wanted to see him cleaned out every time.
That's what made him great, though, man. You know, either you love him or you hate him. It's one of the two.
Yeah. But no, Hogan, obviously. You know, this is, I know, like, you're either, it's a black and white camp, but I was actually a Warrior fan. He was just
nice.
So,
hell yeah.
I know people either dug him or didn't dug him, but I was a big Warrior fan. And then going into the Attitude Era, anybody with kind of like a horror gimmick, like Kane and Undertaker, I really dug a lot. And then Mankind, who, you know, I didn't really kind of jive with that iteration of a character from Mick Foley at first.
Yeah.
But, you know, through all of those hardcore matches and a lot of the things that he did, I kind of really started to dig the character after a while. But yeah, there's, you know, it's kind of like saying, you know, who is your favorite band or something, like growing up.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to pin
it's
one.
Impossible. Yeah.
I know for me, God, man, there's just so many. I miss the Rock. His charisma, just being able to on the fly just own somebody and own the moment really too, and have the crowd in the palm of his hand every single time he was out there. And I mean, he still has it. He still has it. Almost everywhere he goes, he still has it now. For me, was great. But yeah, I mean, I grew up too watching Hulk Hogan. For me, it was Macho Man Randy Savage, though.
That's what I would say right now, dude.
Yeah, I'm a huge Macho Man. There's something about the way he spoke. I was yeah.
That's all we can say about that. It was the 80s.
It was the 80s, brother. Oh yeah.
Yeah, those matches with Hulk and Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man were epic, man. WrestleMania 5 was just great. You know, the whole storyline with Miss Elizabeth, all that stuff was amazing, dude. So
the great thing about the 80s, though, it was like, you know, the 90s going into more of the realism, sort of. Yeah. was one thing, but the 80s, everybody seemed like a comic book character, but that was great. You know, like
that's right.
Like lineup of people that you had, you know, between, you know, Randy Savage and Ultimate Warrior and Hogan, and then you had the Giant in there. I'm like, everybody was just so unique, and I'm like, I don't know if Ed wants to drop in on that one, but. I mean, like it was so like out of this world. It was just exaggerated to such a degree, in the pageantry and the crazy costumes, and you know, that era of wrestling was really, you know, even if you I mean, like I didn't really understand the work, you know, like the way, like you can, you know, when you're older, you see something and you,
of course,
you notice different nuances in a match than when you did when you were like 8 or 9. But when I was 8 or 9, that over the top look was doing it for me.
It was magical.
Yeah. Look, the fact of the matter is the decade of the 1980s was better at everything. It had the best movies. It had the best music. It had the best television. It had the best pro wrestling. The 80s, that's it. It was a decade of excess. So everything related to the 80s. Yeah. I'm a grown man in 2021 that still wears Zubaz and a fanny pack everywhere I go. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a joke. I do not leave this house if I don't have a pair of Zubaz or a fanny pack on. Period.
I think what was great about the 80s, awesome, for professional wrestling too is the kayfabe was there. You take that away now, you know, you pull the curtain back and everybody knows,
brother.
Everybody knows, you know, it's scripted and all that. The magic for me is kind of gone, but at the same time, though, now that I'm older, it's like what Adolfo said. You know how things work now when you get older. I appreciate it a little bit more because now that I know the work that goes into it. Although I've only been in a ring a couple times, and that was not because I'm a wrestler. That was because I helped put together a wrestling ring, and I know the work even going into that is a little tough. And having seen people like friends of mine and things like that, the work they put into doing it, you know, it pisses me off when someone's like, "Oh, it's just fake." No, I'll tell you something. It ain't. It is not like that at all. And you know, even though it sucks that the magic, I guess, is kind of gone, you know, but in the sense of, you know, that, but at the end of the day, I still appreciate it for what it is, that, you know, these guys are doing these moves and jumping off of ladders and crazy shit like that, going through tables and just all of that. It still gets me. You know what I mean? Like, wrestling is going to be that thing that no matter what happens, it's always going to pull me in some way. Now, granted, I don't watch wrestling, like I don't watch every Monday. I don't watch every Wednesday. I don't watch it like that. I will say I do watch pay-per-views. For me, that's kind of what I do. Is I'm the pay-per-view guy. I watch the payper-views because I know that's where I'm going to.
The COVID era has been hard on television.
It has, man. Yeah,
it really has. Weird. And I'm as guilty as you are. The COVID era for me, you know, it's so weird when you think about how different just the lack of fans makes it. You know what I mean? Just because personally, when all this started going down, I was like, you know what, things like NASCAR and basketball, baseball, all this stuff, I believe really didn't change a whole lot with the lack of audience.
Right.
Like, but pro wrestling, when it you don't realize how much it relies on that top of the crowd or just the reaction. There were a few things that I watched during the COVID era that I said, man, if they had an audience, that thing would have blown the roof off of this place.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I said on a few things, man, if they had an audience, they would realize how terrible that really is.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy to me. It was hard for me to watch the COVID era pro wrestling. I still did on occasion. As crazy as this sounds, just because one is so much newer than the other, I thought AEW, if we call it the COVID Night Wars,
I like that.
Whatever, AEW won that every week.
Oh, hands down.
Because the way they had their audience or their crowd, which was just a lot of their workers, it made it feel like I was still watching pro wrestling.
Yes.
WWE with first off the empty arenas, then
that was weird.
Thunderdome, like
I remember tuning in to one of the early COVID shows, man, when the arena was empty, and I forgot who was in the ring, and they're over here pointing at the crowd, but there's no one there. So I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, who are you pointing at? You know what I mean? So I thought that was weird. It's crazy. I thought it was super weird and super crazy. And I said, dude, I understand it's a new world right now with COVID, but that's kind of weird.
They might have had their mom sitting all the way in the back seats.
Pointing at mom.
For still running. Kudos to all of them for that. But for me, AEW was really the only thing that I could watch during the COVID era.
Yeah, it was so odd because even when they had the no arena and they had no crowd filter. Spoiler alert, that's not them really chanting, by the way. Some people think that. I don't know why they do, but that's not them. It was weird because you could even hear sometimes them calling their spots. And I remember when they were gonna start doing empty arenas, I was like, oh my god, how are they gonna call spots? Because that's also why the crowd always helps out, because especially if you've ever watched a thing called Botchamania, I highly recommend checking it out. They have a section in there where you talk too much, and you got John Cena. He's guilty of that, by the way. Always like talking real loud, like, all right, suplex and all this shit. And I was like, man, how the hell are they gonna get away with doing these calling their spots with no buffer over it, no sound barrier over that, and I think there was a few times where you could hear it, and or they tried to up the commentary a little bit to try to compensate for the crowd. But I will say that you're absolutely right. AEW knocked it out of the park. They knew what they were doing.
They really did.
I
also think it helped that they, because of the Khan family, they had the ability to still have an actual arena / stadium to work in. Whereas WWE was just like, I mean, we got this warehouse, like.
yeah. Let's go to an empty lot, right? Yeah.
And I like the fact that what was it? I help me remember, Ed. What pay-per-view was it? They did that crazy ass stadium match where they went through the whole fucking stadium, and there was just all kinds of shit going on in the stadium. They had like Matt Hardy jumping into a pool. Do you remember that?
Oh,
it was the stadium brawl. It was.
Hold on. Are you talking about the Money in the Bank one?
No, not WWE. This is AEW. They did an insane. Like they were running on the football field, like doing shit. It was insane.
I remember that, but I don't remember what it was from.
Oh my god, it was.
Didn't the match end on like the 50-yard line or something?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
If that's not scripted, I don't know what is.
And
man.
the thing is, and the thing about it too is, my wife, she's not a big wrestling fan, but she loved the Money in the Bank thing last year. She was like, okay, This is pretty damn cool what they put together with the whole going to the top of the roof, and doing that crazy shit. That was pretty cool. But yeah, they've had to get super creative and props to them. I mean, hasn't everybody at some point, whether it's
absolutely.
Everybody's had to.
I just think AEW did it better.
They absolutely did. They absolutely did. But it was really great to watch WrestleMania a few weeks ago and have some crowd there. That was really.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh my God, I was like, please God. Let us have some crowd at Mania, and although I am disappointed, Kevin Owens didn't jump off the damn ship like he said he was going to last year if they did it, and he didn't do it this time. Maybe he'll do it one day, but yeah. Well, guys, that is all the time we have today for this show. Guys, go check out Squared Circle Expo. It is May 14th and 15th. Now this will be on, you guys are watching this on YouTube. We do video version on YouTube, audio version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good places in between. I will put a link in the description below where you guys can go to the Facebook page and then a link to go buy tickets to this event because you don't want to miss it. It's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of great people showing up here. You got the Gun Club, you got Darby Allin, Sammy Kane's coming, you got Jake the Snake, and then there's of course going to be a show Saturday night as well. If you're able to get into that, do that also. But don't miss it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there. So if you run into me, be sure to say hi.
Nice.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Ed, seeing Adolfo, seeing you guys there as well. Can't wait to hang out. And it's going to be a fun time, man. I'm looking forward to.
The only one missing out, man.
I know, man. Why'd you
get? Why you gotta live in California?
Jump on a damn plane and get your ass over to Indy.
I want to go see the snake. I hope Jake the Snake brings a snake with him, man. That'd be cool.
Oh my god. But yeah, for sure, you guys don't want to miss it. It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be my first convention back since this insane world we've been living in right now, and I'm looking forward to attending. And then of course, it'll be the return of my pros and cons series where I review conventions. So that'll be a review coming probably a week after that shows up, and you guys will know all about what I thought about the con. But other than that, was there anything else that you guys wanted to promote before we get off the show, before we end the show?
Yeah, make sure you go check out squaredcirclexpo.com. Go find us on Facebook. Give us a like. But you can also go check out our wonderful, great, fantastic, most comfortable brand in the world sponsor. Check out collarandelbowbrand.com to pick up some of these great, wonderful t-shirts from Collar and Elbow. Who will also be there at Squared Circle Expo with the world famous Al Snow as well.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I got, Adolfo. If you got anything else.
No, I think you hit all the bases. SquaredCircleX.com. But yeah, I want to just thank you guys for allowing us to be on. And for me, this is such a huge thing. Getting back into the game. And having an opportunity to do this once again, having an opportunity to do it with Ed, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun planning it. Doing it during COVID has been so hard. I think that I get a little emotional just thinking about how long this has been in the works. We've been talking about it since like early 2019 and just like brainstorming this and hashing it out. A lot of our crew are people that worked with us during the last show that were kind of, unceremoniously departed shortly after we did. And it's our whole team is just kind of like an island of misfit toys, just kind of coming back together to do something we love with each other, who we all love. And I don't have words for it. It really means a lot to me, and I hope to see everybody there. I mean, I'm super excited. This has been like 2.5 years in the making. So man, almost there.
We're almost there.
That's
almost
awesome.
there.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that review, Brian. I'm going to be there in spirit.
What's that?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there in spirit. I got to see
what's cut out of your face. And
walk around with it, Brian. I'm expecting it now. I'm expecting my face being held. You're going to carry my face with me.
Right on. Honestly, though, thanks for having us.
Man.
We're really excited about this. It means a lot to us. It means a lot that you guys are allowing us to talk about the show, and it means a lot.
Hey.
The reception has been absolutely bananas. Just so many people have given their trust and confidence to us and are very excited for the show. And it feels good to be back, boys. It feels really, really good to be back.
Hey, I can't wait to when the 14th comes around, stepping foot back into a world that I didn't think, man. I didn't think I'd ever see again. I mean, I knew I would, but man, it just feels like forever.
It's taking forever, dude. Yeah.
But
you guys are more than welcome to join us anytime, guys.
Yeah, and you guys are more
you,
welcome to come back anytime. But whether it doesn't have to be about cons, it can be about we can do a show about Funko Pops. You got the setup already over there. We can do that. But thank you, Ed and Adolfo, for being on the show with us today.
Thanks, guys.
And thank all of you at home for taking the time to watch another episode of our show. And leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know, some memories you have of pro wrestling, whether it's you grew up in the 80s, 90s, or you unfortunately grew up in the 2000s and had to watch all that. No, but no hating on there. But let us know, so maybe you have some pro wrestling convention memories too. And
we'd love to hear
if you're going to definitely let us know if you're going to the Squared Circle Expo. We would love to see. I'd love to see you guys there as well. And other than that, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Take it easy.
See you there.
Later.